than it does to you. I grew up with my family using it. For me, I can use it as a term of endearment.
But if I used it,
I don't want to hear it come out of your mouth.
you have to understand word that has followed us around, and basically what we did is we took it out of the hands of the people who were using it and put it into our hands, and we use it the way we want to use it.
This is upsetting to me because
Okay, just take a breath and let someone else talk.
But this is a conversation that is hard, and we're going to have it here, and we have it here well because we love each other.
Yes.
When we live in a world where pop culture then uses that term, and we're trying to get to a place where we feel like we're in the same place, or we feel like we're in the same world, how are we supposed to then move forward if we keep using terms that bring back that pain?
Who do you think should be allowed to use the N-word?
Black people or African Americans.
I think anyone, as long as it's not used in an offensive way.
I don't think people should use the N-word.
Only black people should be able to use it.
I feel like it's derogatory towards the African American race.
I feel like it's a term that is part of our history, and if somebody else uses it, it could be used in an offensive term. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's a word that sort of connects us all. Like it's basically sharing our history.
It came from a bad place, and I understand why people would still want to use it if it means something hurtful and bad to the past.
It's kind of like the B word for women. If we use it with each other, we're teaching men that it's okay for us to use that word, and it's okay for them to call us that, even though it's really not. And so I feel it's kind of like the same thing. I know some people argue that it's taking the word back to be able to use it, but at the same point, it's like, well, what are you really saying? If that person really was your friend, would you actually want to call them that?
I don't think it's different. The only thing that makes it different from any other derogatory term is that it's used for a certain reason.
Well, I think that when you talk about America's specific history, what word comes to mind? If you were to ask the average person on the street for a derogatory term, used by one race against another, I think that 90% of people would say the N-word as that word. I think it has such a history, unlike, obviously any word used as a negative towards an entire group of people is wrong, but I think America has a particular history with that word.
I actually don't think it's different because it all came from an origin of like racism.
It is different in a way because we took the word in and made it a different thing.
I think it is different, and I think it's hard to explain why, but I think in the US it just has a history behind it that's so ugly that when we hear it, I think for a lot of us we can't help but think of that history, and we feel like as long as that word is around, like we're not really getting away from that history with like who we are and what we can be.
I think what makes it different is just the fact that slavery was going on for so long, and that was one of the main things that one of the main words that was used just to talk about us or just against us. And it's other words that are so bad, but I think personally it's like one of the worst ones just because of its history.
It depends on like who uses it, but like not as bad as it used to be, because it used to be like just straight racism, but it depends on the person.
Not at all, because it's used in a way that people use it in terms of like a greeting, and they use it like it's like more like calling someone like bro or dude, because it's used so often. It's not used as a slur anymore, really.
Use it more loosely now. It could mean like a friend, or you just calling somebody that just to, I don't know. It's so loosely used nowadays. Doesn't have the same context. It's more, I don't want to say nicer, but it's sort of how it's used now.
No, it doesn't. I think that people use it more as a friendly term, but still, you never know who's joking and who's being serious. So I think people should just not.
Do you use them?
No.
I use it frequently.
Sometimes with my friends.
Yes.
Every now and then, not as often as I used to.
Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie.
Why do you use it?
Like honestly, I never use it in a serious manner. Like the only time I ever used it is just as a joke.
Yeah, sometimes, but not to offend anyone, just as a joke.
I do.
No, never.
No.
I do. There's really no specific reason, just because.
No.